What's going on, YouTubers, gamers and hobbyists, and welcome to this airbrushing for beginners. And so you want to know about thinning down your paints for an airbrush. Perhaps you've got some airbrush ready paints, such as these by Vallejo, Citadel one here, Air Mephiston Red, or the Minotaur one, which is Angelic Blood. So you got these and you think, right, well, these are ready for airbrush, right? And you pop them in your airbrush and it's not behaving quite as you would like. It's not coming through well, or for whatever reason. Or perhaps you just have a normal, ordinary paint that you want to put through your airbrush. Well, that's fine as well. Now, with thinning down, I'm going to move these out of the way in a moment. I'll just show you here. I've got two different types of palettes. I've got like a conventional palette. I've got the artist palette here. Just come around slightly so that you can see. And I've got some distilled water here. Now, I've said on previous videos, when you're putting paint in your airbrush, you want it to be the consistency of milk, and you do really. Specifically, if you're, well, I'll say specifically. It's better if you're spraying like that lower PSIs, and it all depends. You need to get yourself a pipette or like a cocktail stick stirrer or something like that. Now the only thing is, when you're thinning down paints, there's no real exact science to it. And a lot of these paints, these airbrush ready paints, this is Scarlet Red by Vallejo Model Air. You can put it in your palette here. We'll give it a bit of a shake. Or you put in it, say this is your airbrush cup. Yeah. And just use an old brush. Turning mine upside down. You think, well, that's a little thicker than I want, actually. Just a tad. So the only way to do it, really, is to add water or medium or whatever you want to. I'm just going to use distilled water here for the purpose of this exercise. Just add a drop at a time, not too much. So one drop there. I'm still using the upside down of my brush slick. Mix that up, and pretend this is like the insides of your airbrush cup here. Now you can pull it up, drag it up, and you can see how it behaves. That's the best way. And you're wanting it to kind of run down a little bit. So for whatever reason, this one here, for spraying at lower PSIs, I could do with being just a tad more. So add another one. So that'll be 2 drops to my little squirt. Of course, you can't mix it up here in this particular palette and apply to airbrush, because you're not going to get much out of there. If you try sucking it up, it's really not worth it. So the best way really is to mix it in the cup itself. But I'm just using this as a guide here. I mean, that's roughly, more or less, if you look on the palette here, it's kind of like, it's like a milk. When I say milk, like full fat milk. Yes, it leaves a line behind, but it runs back down quite easily. That's kind of the consistency you want. So I'll just clean this off so I can show you on the other palette. And we'll try Angelic Blood. Bear in mind, these are airbrush ready paints. Before you carry on, just remember, any paint, you can spray any paint through an airbrush, as long as it's the right consistency, viscosity, and so on. Different paints have different viscosities and different surface tensions depending on what you add to it. Water, medium, what have you. It's, you know, it varies, which is why there's no exact science of it there. So I put 3 drops of the Minotaur paint down there. Now, if I just hold it up, I think, yeah, it's a little thick still. Still a little thick, so just add 1 drop at a time. Or if it's a, say it was a medium, pretend this is a medium. Let's clean that off. You want a dollop, 1 dollop here, put it to the side. You can put 2 if you want, like different areas. And you can then mix that in with the 1. If you think that's still too thick, I'll put it in with the other dollop as well. That's more for, I mean, this isn't really helpful unless you do it in the cup. This is okay for hand brushing. That's kind of the consistency you want though. If I turn it up, it runs like that. You see, that is what you want. That's more or less airbrush ready. I mean, like I say, there's no exact science to it. Every paint you use will behave slightly differently. I mean, I appreciate you know, you want to know. We'll try with this, and this has been sat in my, like in my drawer for about a year, maybe longer, corn red. So I'll give it a really good shake. It's got an agitator in it. This isn't an airbrush ready paint, so it's not airbrush ready. But like all paints, give it a darn good shake. Give it a really good shake. And use an old brush, a glooping brush I call them, or if not, it's a good brush, just turn it upside down and use the opposite end. Scoop a bit out, or in the case of airbrush, scoop a bit, well not scoop, either suck a bit out with a pipette and transfer it, or you can just tip the pot, you know, into the cup like so. But the best tip I can really say is just add a little bit at a time. So we'll go with the method from before. Just dip it in. We'll just put 1 glob there, 2 globs there, and I'll put a 3rd one here because I know that it's a base paint. It's going to be quite thick. And we'll zoom in a bit more on there. You can see that there. So that's 2 at least. I think we'll go 3. We'll go 3. Now I'm going to zoom out again. We'll turn this palette up to its side. It's not doing what that one's doing. Sorry, off camera. It's not behaving like that one, so it's still not thick enough, thin enough yet. So what I'll do, I will add another drop, just 1 at a time. And like I say, instead of doing all this, you should be dragging it up the side of your airbrush cup and seeing if it behaves the way you want to after that. Now it's behaving like that. It's running. Now it's airbrush ready. Yeah, baby. That's where we're at. That's what we want. So just pull it up the side of your airbrush cup. If it does not behave, like, run back down again and you'll see it. I know it's easier to see it on a white sheet, but you'll see it run down back into the cup, and that's what you're after, more or less. And in some cases you want it even thinner, in some cases not. Depends on the PSI you're spraying at, what you're painting, the effect you're after, you know, the type of paint you've got, how much you've put in. All these factors make it impossible to be, you know, any more scientific with it. So that's it. That's thinning your paints down for airbrushing. So that's the best advice I can give. Just add, a couple drops or a couple of scoops at a time of medium distilled water, however you want to do it. Airbrush thinner. It'll all thin your airbrush paint or your normal paints. Water has a higher surface tension, so I would tend to use thinners if I were you, rather than that. But you can literally spray any type of paint through an airbrush. Household paint, whatever. You can even spray nail varnish for it. It's really not a problem. It's a simple device, but you've got to get the right consistency. I know that, but it really is quite subjective to how you'll find your own sweet spot. You'll know. But for me, it's how I do it. Seeing it run down the side there of the cup. And if you're brushing by hand, then you don't need to go quite that thin. You will find your own sweet spot, but it is trial and error. And like I say, there's umpteen different, there's many types of paint out there. I don't know what paint you're using. I'm painting for a model building hobby. You could be canvas painting, I don't know, or whatever, but yeah, that's one way of doing it. Just add one drop at a time or one little gloop at a time. If that doesn't work, you can add you can always add, but you can't take away. Just remember that. It's just like cooking. Anyway, thanks for watching. Remember, all brushes lead to one. I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now. Bye bye.